Hi folks, and welcome to this niche audio video, which actually isn't about one of our Machine or Ableton packs. It's actually about Elektrons Overbridge. Now, it was just released yesterday, so I just literally got it about an hour ago and I've installed it. And it comes with two parts. You get the plugin, and you get this kind of routing system. This is a separate, it's not a plugin, this is a little application. And like I say, I've only had this for about an hour. I've only even had the Analog 4 for about 2 weeks, so this is not about the Analog 4 synthesis or anything like that. It's really just to show some folks how awesome this really is. And I don't use that word awesome very often, very rarely. So, I'll put that to the side just now. Right. Okay, what you see here, I've set it up 4 MIDI channels, just MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. Here is the actual plugin. Oh, pretty. And I've set up 4 input tracks. And as you can see, there's a bass line playing there already. Put in the hi-hat. And the kick drum. Now all this, everything you hear is coming from the Analog 4. Now, how you get the audio in is through this control panel. And you turn the tracks that you want on, and it's as simple as that. You always, if you change this, by the way, you have to hit apply. So if I wanted to turn on the main left and right, you hit apply. And that activates it. Just doing that won't actually activate it. Always hit apply. It actually tells you this anyway. And as you can see here, by the way, if I put those on, you see the USB bandwidth, it's limited. No, but not limited as in, oh, really bad or anything. It's just limited in what you can actually do with it. So if I try to turn on these external ones, you can see that it's actually said too many channels. But you're probably not going to need all these at the same time. You certainly don't need the left, right, if you're using the separate channels. This section here, I haven't even messed around with that, but I'm presuming it's for sending sound audio back to the Analog 4. Not too sure about that. There'll be other people demoing this much more in depth than I'm doing, and people that know a good bit more about the Analog 4 as well. One other thing about this, if you did actually want to use all these channels at the same time, I would imagine if you click the 16-bit, you can transfer 16 or 24-bit audio. And you can see that uses less USB bandwidth, wouldn't be a problem having that on, and the externals. But I'm presuming you wouldn't have all them on, it would be more like sending audio back through the Analog 4, like that. But anyway, I'm not doing any of that just now. That's just kind of set up like that. That's pretty much how I would have it. And here are the channels that they're going in. Chords, kick, hi-hat, and the bass line. Now, what happens when you start putting processing on? So this is running live. Can it work fine with other plugins? Absolutely, I've already done that. So let's do the chords. I have, I think on all the channels I'm using, I have some, I just put some stuff on just to see that everything was okay. I've not had a crash yet, by the way, so that's quite good, but I know that some people have. And this is an early beta version, so we all have to keep that in mind. So let's do that. A little bit of a, I don't know if that was the Analog 4 causing that, I'm not too sure. Let's This is Native Instruments Replica, which actually I've had a few problems with, come to think of it. So no problem there. So we've got delay, some compression, EQ, a little bit of a glitch there. You can hear that, yeah. But I've got stuff running on every channel. Not like heavy duty amount of plugins. Oh, nothing on there. I forgot to actually put something on there. Bad me, bad me. Yeah, I'm getting a bit of audio interference, but I do get this with this Mac sometimes, so I'm not going to sit here and accuse the Analog 4, because it's actually been running fine for about the last half an hour with no glitching at all, so it's probably my system that. I've got all sorts of things running in the background as well, which doesn't really help with audio streaming. And yeah, right, now let's have a look at the plugin, because I think that's what many of you want to see. Right, there it is. It's actually a really nice plugin, that. I really like the look of it. I also like the size. I know it's large, but I like that. I can see things. Now, for someone like me, who's not very familiar with the Analog 4 at all, you know, you get a tiny little screen with it. I'm not going to say that's heaven, you know. It's good. It focuses your ears. You know, you're not going to get like assaulted with eye candy. But what I think this will be very useful for me personally, because I'm not really an analog synth guy. I kind of twiddle some knobs and I get some sound, but I don't really understand what I'm doing. You know, and I'm fine with that. I've always been a samplist. Anyway, this is why I have an Analog 4. I will sample sounds for our machine packs. Here's the 4 tracks here, or the 4 sounds, but you call them tracks, I think. And this, I'm not too sure what this is. I know it's to do with the Analog 4, but obviously, but I haven't messed around with this. I mean, I can see that you've got the level mixer there, and I'm presuming that you can, obviously you can assign these to stuff. How would you do that? Maybe in another page. Sorry about that. I don't know how to do that. But anyway, the sound. Okay, this chord. Yeah. And, you know, it's really cool that this is an analog synth. You know what I mean? This is an analog synth. It's real. There's no digital zeros and ones apart from the actual controller, but the sound, I'm impressed, very impressed. Kick drum. So I mean, everything is editable. Hang on a sec. Which one's that? That's the bass line. Now, of course, I'm not going to do that here just now. Haven't really had time to mess around with that. But all this is automatable anyway. Isn't that really cool? Now, all I would need to do here is put these into record mode, and I can record this all in live time, real time. Cool. And then I'm just putting some effects on. So this is very good. I mean, if you just use the Analog 4 internal sequencer and you route sounds to your DAW or whatever recording device, whatever software you have, I mean, that's kind of game changing, I think, you know? That is definitely a game changer, that. If it's not, I don't know what can be. To me, this is a full-on game changer. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Because as much as I like the Analog 4, the way it is, and just using, and the internal sequencer is awesome, by the way. It's very important to mention this, I think. When you start using the Analog 4, this is just my opinion, when you start using it as a sound module, like I've done here, like a 4-part sound module, when you start doing that, you lose a lot as in what you can do with the parameter locks, the sequencer on the Analog 4. I mean, that currently you can't like program any of that within the plugin. And for me, I would generally program into the Analog 4 and just route the audio, but this demonstration is just to show you that, you know, you can completely use this as just like you would a normal VST, a 4-part analog VST, a real one. No virtual stuff here. Everything can be automated, messed around with, affected. It doesn't really get much better than this. Now, is there any bad things? Yeah, well, the latency, which is not analog 4 or Elektron's fault at all. It's just when you're monitoring live. Ableton Live in particular, I find is probably the worst off of that. If I run another VST with say like some percussion, it's going to be, you know, the timing's going to be off. Obviously, you can fix this once you record the audio and all that, you know. But just be aware of that. You probably won't be able to run this and run a bunch of VSTs and VST drum machines, whatever it is you got, at the same time with everything in perfect sync. To do that, you're going to have to use the internal sequencer, send a MIDI clock, or something like in a clock system SyncGen to send a sample accurate MIDI clock. I've been reading that the Analog 4 MIDI clock, when it receives the signal, is directly from the plugin, is very, very good. So I haven't tested that, so I think it will be, you know, I have a feeling. But like I say, very good for the less experienced among us Analog 4 users, where I'm really, within half an hour, I was really understanding a lot more about the architecture of the Analog 4. So this is going to be really useful for me to help speed up my learning curve on it, because it does have a learning curve. It's my first Elektron unit, and I'm not going to say it's daunting, but it's just it's got a learning curve, and this will definitely be helpful. Marvellous. And as I say, if that's not a game changer, I don't know what is. If you don't have an Analog 4, which is an absolutely awesome synth, by the way, and then adding this to it, I'm genuinely blown away. Now, I've been in the game quite a while. Nothing really blows me away these days, but this is, my hat's off to Elektron. Big time. Thanks for watching.